but we're just going to go ahead and get started. So if you guys don't mind, I'm going to have everyone kind of just kick off by introducing themselves, maybe share a little bit about your property, what you do, and we'll just kind of go around the room before we kind of dive into the actual questions. And then, similar to what I was saying earlier, if anybody does have questions as we're kind of going through this discussion, feel free to post those in the Q&A. We also have a couple team members that are making a point to monitor the chat and to call out any questions to me. And if I do get any questions kind of within the room, I'll make a point of repeating those so everyone here virtually can kind of follow along. But I'm very excited to welcome our panelists today. And without further ado, do you mind kicking us off, Jonathan?
Yeah, definitely. Hey, everyone. Great to be here. I'm the owner operator of the Island Guest House and Motel in Manio, North Carolina. So it's the Outer Banks, North Carolina. The asset was built in the 1950s. So we are an older asset in kind of a coastal area, which comes with a lot of different challenges, from a property management perspective, an asset perspective, a guest perspective. I would call our asset kind of economy plus. So within the group of being kind of a little bit more affordable, we're definitely on the high side of that. I think we're doing a lot of projects internally from a CapEx perspective that are continuing to add separation between ourselves and the other kind of economy focused assets internally or in our market, some market, if you will. In terms of what I do and how I operate, I really revenue management, overall operations, cash flow analysis, ultimately the primary decision maker. I do spend as little time as possible doing kind of some of the traditional check-in guest management pieces like that. We do have a staff in place that handles most of that for us. We are 12 rooms, so relatively small, but we perform exceptionally well in our market and continue to kind of put waistline in terms of how we stack up against our competitors.
Great. Thank you so much, Jonathan. Bob, do you want to go next?
Sure. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Hello, everyone. I'm Bob Sherham. I, along with my partner, are the owners of Stone Creek Lodge at Mount Rainier. So we're joining everyone from the Pacific Northwest. And Joe and I purchased Stone Creek Lodge approximately 11 years ago. Like Jonathan's property, it sounds like we're very similar in a lot of ways. Smaller property. We consider ourselves a boutique hotel. We have 10 units, so similar in terms of size. Our property also dates back to 1950s, give or take, and was rebuilt due to a flood, was rebuilt in the 60s. Joe and I have been renovating, remodeling, updating, bringing things we like to say is kind of back to life. And however, unlike Jonathan, we're hands-on, we're owner operated. We do everything, check-ins, housekeeping, grounds, all of it. So I have a feeling that I'm going to have a little bit of a different perspective on some of the questions than maybe Jonathan. So
Love that. That's why I selected everyone here, just different perspectives and good insight. So I appreciate that intro. And then speaking of different perspectives, Kristen is joining us and one of our newest customers. So Kristen, why don't you give a quick little intro?
Hey, yeah, I'm Kristen. I have Chehalem Ridge Bed and Breakfast. We are in the Willamette Valley wine country of Oregon. So about an hour southwest of Portland. We have a 5-room bed and breakfast, a little bit upscale, but we're definitely not the highest priced or the highest amenities on our market. And been owner operator for 18 years. So we're smaller, but I have reached a point where I do have some really good staff. And so I am withdrawing from doing a lot of the on-site stuff. They're on the call right now. So they're wonderful.
Yay. Yeah. Bob, I feel like they're just sticking it to you a little bit.
I think so. But Liz, we have a plan to attack that. So
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And Jay, so happy to have you. You have had quite a journey with your property and recently in the last few years acquired a second property. So why don't you introduce yourself to the group and get to all of the virtual attendees and on-site people?
Sorry, wasn't able to join a minute ago. I've running late
Okay.
from a development meeting. So my name's Jay Mayer. We're based out of the south end of New Jersey, as close to the tip as you can get without being in Cape May. We're in Wildwood Crest, New Jersey. I've been in the motel industry for 31 years. Started when I was 19, and just in no way, shape, or form or direct path whatsoever continued to maintain hotels while I've had multiple other careers. So I've worn every single hat just about you can wear in the trades field and in other fields, but have always maintained a love of just servicing and serving our guests to our beautiful shore town. We have like amazing beaches, an amazing little town. It's a gem, and my kids have now started to grow up in it. It's been wonderful. I've definitely gone through all the trials and tribulations, and I apologize in advance and for any previous stress I've unduly given to Liz and her staff, because I've certainly probably been a conversation or two behind the scenes. Yeah, we went through, we have 55 rooms here in New Jersey at our property. We had a 28 unit side, and then about 4 years ago bought my neighbor across the street, just trying to make it work. It's kind of like roll the dice, and we've done every possible pro forma you can do, and we're
Yeah.
always fighting the margins.
Yes. Yeah.
But
Okay.
great staff, great clientele, and that's the only reason I've survived is great staff clientele.
That's great to hear. Okay, I'm gonna just kind of get into some of the questions. And then if you guys don't mind in the room, if there are questions that you kind of want to ask, feel free to raise a hand. I'll do my best to bring those in. And then same thing with the chats. If there's something that we need to talk about sooner rather than later, just let me know. Otherwise, we can hold on till the end. Okay, so to kick it off, the first question that I'd love to ask you guys, and we don't necessarily have to go in the same order every single time. So whoever wants to jump in first, go for it. But what are the biggest challenges that you've seen in the lodging industry over the past 2 to 3 years? What are some things that kind of speak to you guys? Don't be shy.
I'll speak to it. We, as a bed and breakfast, we come with a little bit of historical baggage as to who we are as a industry, and you know, being a grandma's house kind of situation. And so bringing a younger clientele into that, to understanding what we provide and really being clear about what we communicate, what we provide, is paramount for us. Because if we don't get new people staying with us, then we won't have people staying with us.
Mhm. And so, Kristen, not to put you on the spot, but like,
Yeah.
what are 1 or 2 things that you feel like have helped with that?
Well, it's an ongoing thing, and being in wine country also, it's an interesting thing that the wineries are going through too, where the younger generations aren't drinking as much, which the doctors are happy about, and wine industry is like, oh my God, what do we do? So trying to really pinpoint who those, like, create avatars for each one of our guests, the ones that currently exist and the ones that we want to get. And so if we're focusing on the ones that we want to get, creating a full avatar based on who they are, where they communicate, what kind of messages they want to hear, and then really messaging through our website and through our social media, what those things are that they're looking for and how we provide them. Like, we are about community, and we do provide a way for you to meet other people, which there is there is a section that's like, I'm on my phone, leave me alone. And then now they're kind of getting away from that and being like, oh, we want community and authenticity. And so saying like, staying at a vacation rental where you never see the host is a different experience, and that's not what you're going to get here. You're going to get here innkeepers who have been to like 100 different wineries and can talk to you about it. And so really communicating that that's what you get, so that we get
Mhm.
people who want that experience, and we don't get the wrong kind of guests for us, because nobody wants a guest who is unhappy to be there because what you're providing is what they wanted. So really communicating, this is what we provide, and this is how it meets the need that you're looking for.
Love that. That makes total sense. Okay. Who else wants to speak about some of the biggest changes?
Yeah, I'll piggyback off a few of those comments. I would say generally our guests tend to be in that kind of 50 to 65-year-old range very frequently. And so we're very cognizant all the time of how do we get the next 50 to 65-year-olds, right? As times change, as millennials are that next group, as so on and so forth. So we are being really mindful of that as it pertains to kind of true challenges. I think on our end, it's ultimately the consumer. The consumer has changed. When you think about pre-COVID, even, which is just a short 5, 6 years ago, we were blessed to go on vacation. Now we expect to go on vacation. It was a blessing to go to dinner. Now we expect to go to dinner. The consumer has truly changed. So we have had to change to some of those kind of demands and accommodations that in which they expect. And so to the point of marketing communication, how we communicate to the consumer, we try really, really hard to communicate from start to finish who we are and who we are not. And so
Mhm.
because of how our assets designed, we kind of flirt with that bed and breakfast feel, but we have the motel out back. So we kind of blend this line of who we are at times. And so we do try really hard to, hey, here's what we offer. Here's kind of the rules. This is the game we play. And that's communicated very heavily to kind of avoid that confusion or that consumer expectation of, hey, this is not Ritz-Carlton. We try really hard to make sure our guests are comfortable and all those things, but communication's so key because the consumer has truly changed in the world of Instagram and TikTok and consumer expectations and demands and this and that. So I would say from my perspective, really inflation hasn't killed us as much as the media makes it out to be. And staffing does come with challenges in itself, but we have a pretty good team. But it's really the consumer, navigating the consumer, I think, has been the biggest challenge for us.
Interesting. All right.
Sure. Yeah, for us, I mean, it's almost like whack-a-mole for us. I mean, it's things constantly are changing in our small little mountain town. But what we continue to see post-COVID is very little international travelers, and even more recently, less Canadian travelers. We're pretty close to British Columbia, so routinely we would receive a lot of folks from BC. That's kind of fading away. But on the upside, people still need to take a vacation. They still want to get out. They still want to get away. And we're seeing more and more domestic cross country travelers now. And I think we're starting to realize that. And we're maybe focusing more and more on our marketing and advertising initiatives in those little niche cities
Mhm.
or states. But the other interesting thing for us is the off season, basically winter months, shoulder season. We're seeing more and more requests for single nights. We typically will have a minimum stay requirement at our property since we're owner operated. And we're seeing more and more requests for single night stays as opposed to two, three, or more nights. And we've been pretty creative on how we've been tackling that, but I feel as though we've done a pretty good job. We've essentially just isolated rooms, and these are our single night rooms. And if you want a single night, these are the rooms you stay in. And we've been reserving our more premium rooms for our longer term guests, but we've been trying to be creative with our approach to things. We're also seeing a lot of last minute reservations day before, 48 hours before, whereas folks used to plan in advance. So it's definitely made personal scheduling a challenge. Definitely business is not as bad as Jonathan indicated as media, at least the hotel business, the hospitality business. We're doing pretty well.
Okay.
Staying
Well,
busy.
Jay. Yeah, no, that's great. It's great to hear. Jay.
Probably a little different for us because we're truly seasonal. I think having a history of knowing your clientele and what generally works in your market is huge, just like Jonathan, Kristen, and Bob said. And that comes with having been through it many years and seeing the ups and downs. Just what the Bob said, like knowing what your premium rooms are that typically drive the weekly rentals or the 5-day stays. You kind of just have to educate your team on when those are and how and when to block those, and mentally, like, you're watching on your OTAs where your 5 nights are, and keeping those in check for pricing. But at the same time, both that everybody else said, like, knowing your 1 night stays, knowing where they are, knowing when you can open them up. And sometime it is day of, you're opening them up and you're dropping the rate and you're playing the rate games. And, I was on earlier listening to, kind of having AI jump in and do that. And maybe as we grow trust, it's a little bit of, where do you give and take with the trust of your staff versus AI, monitoring pricing, because it's more than just a number. It's a pulse, right? It's a pulse of what's going on 8 blocks down or 3 blocks that way, or we're beach block and versus somebody who's not beach block. It's more than just the number. So it's kind of analyzing all the metrics, your clientele, what rooms are open, the time of year, the market, and everything. It's kind of a whole spectrum game. And in the last couple of years, what has changed specifically for us? I don't know that a whole lot has changed. I think just expectation of our clients know what they're getting. They want a clean room. They want it well maintained. On this year, this off season, we went and did 16 kitchens and 25 bathrooms. So again, another roll of the dice. Like, it's either going to work or it's not going to work.
Yeah.
But sometimes you're doing that as a single owner of a motel or bed and breakfast, or housing, for for resident, for guests looking for vacation property.
Mm-hmm. And so just the next question that I was going to ask kind of piggybacks off of that comment, Jay, with just the remodeling. So was that something that you kind of kept hearing from your guests, which really kind of gave you the green light of this is probably a good thing for us to move forward with? Or how did that kind of come about?
Hit or miss, Liz. Great question. And again, knowing your clientele, most of our clientele has been staying with us. Many of them are historical customers, legacy customers, even where grandparents, parents, and then they're bringing, we've got kids bringing kids now. And again, having been at this property for 25 years, I've seen every evolution of those generations. I think more than anything, it just reinvigorates their belief in your brand when they see strong amounts of capital regularly being put into the business. Besides the day-to-day, they just never see a piece of paper or gum on the ground kind of thing. But we've had so many generational customers in the 25 years that I've owned this particular property. I think it's important to show that, like, I don't think it was a complaint, Liz. I think it was just perfectly clean, but a little dated at times. Well maintained, but still feels a little dated in some of the amenities.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'd love to chime in a little bit on that. And
Yeah.
I think because we're going through a big bathroom renovation currently, and we spent 20,000 last year putting in new floors in a portion of our asset. And not, I think when I think about what separates the good operators from the bad operators in our market, it is that reinvestment rate. So similarly to, all of us kind of being in tourism driven markets, our assets on the Outer Banks get very, very hard wear and tear. So from mid-March to the end of October, we really near 100% occupancy. So if you can just imagine, and that's coming back from boating and sailing and surfing and the beach, and we can go on and on and on. And you can tell very quickly who the operators are that continue to reinvest in their asset and make sure it stays at a certain quality, and the operators that continue to put whatever money they make into their pocket. And so when I kind of discuss with my team regularly, it's like, okay, what's the budget for next year, the next year, the next year? So we're already looking 3, 4, 5, 6 years out in terms of projects that I believe that will have to be completed. We make sure we're budgeting accordingly.
Mm-hmm. Got it. Kristen, I wanted to ask this question to you too, just with guest expectations. And I'd love to, whoever can chime in, but would love to kind of get a feel for how you feel like, has there been any major guest shifts in guest expectations over the years? And if so, like, what are some of those changes that you're seeing from your guests? I think you spoke a little bit about that, but anything else?
There's a, does anybody else? We have a limited, I'll say it, we have a limited amount that we can do with our property given the building that it's in. And so there hasn't been a lot of actual upgrades that we've been needing to do. There's, of course, general maintenance, but as far as if there are guests out there who have expectations that we can't meet, it's it's a it's a question of detailing what the pain points are. What's keeping someone from making a reservation at the property? Is it that there are no TVs in the room? What am I going to do about that? Actually, I'm going to choose to do nothing about that and to communicate it properly that we don't have TVs in the room. We have a TV downstairs that you're welcome to enjoy, but most people are here to disconnect and not watch TV. And so, luckily, that's working with the younger generation who streams everything, well, anybody things anyway. So it's working out. But just understanding what their expectations are and then making a decision from where I am. Is that something I can accommodate? Is that something I want to accommodate? And what do I do about that? And so if there's an expectation that I have wine available for sale, is that something that I want to do? Sure. Let's make some arrangements to have wine available for sale on property because that is legal for me. So for everybody else. And so making those decisions, not just like, oh my God, somebody complained about this. I have to go spend thousands of dollars to fix this. But like, is this something we can do? Is this something we want to do? And then how do we convey and communicate properly that this is what now? If it works for you, that's great. And if it doesn't work for you, I'm happy to help you find someplace else to stay that does meet your needs.
Absolutely.
I only
Okay.
I only chuckled, Kristen, because I just had the same conversation with one of my managers and probably didn't use as nice a wording as you just used and just said, I don't give a dang about the TVs in the room. I mean, we have them, but like, again, another cost of overhead, like our cable bills have gone so skyrocketing high. It's just like, why? They can just stream everything. My kids do. So why do we have cable?
Absolutely. Yeah. Okay. I wanted to shift it a little bit to talking about distribution strategy. Have you guys had to make any major changes over how you're managing your direct channel versus OTAs over the last few years? And yeah, just curious to kind of hear your thoughts.
Well, I guess I can chime in on that one because I'll be quick.
Yeah.
Folks at the prior year's customer success conferences have heard that Joe and I, when operating Stone Creek Lodge, we are currently 100% direct bookings. So we do not rely on any OTAs, no booking.com, Airbnb, none of that. We have a great referral network, repeat business, etc. But I am going to say the big change for us is we are in the process of onboarding with Expedia. Cautiously. But our plan there is we're hoping to get ready to maybe fill some of the voids or the holes in our schedule using Expedia, but more so as an experiment for shoulder or off-season bookings. We would just like greater visibility. But right now, 100% direct.
Bob,
Yeah.
I gotta say, I am in your camp, except I am not yet going over to the dark side. No, they're awesome for if you can use them, if you make sure that you're using them and they're not using you. But we have managed thus far to stay off OTAs. But that doesn't mean I haven't made adjustments to our strategies because we have to stay on top of making sure that we are visible and out there. So our blog is full of content that Google can pull off of. We are involved in a couple of organizations that promote the wine industry. We are in the process of doing an audit of our website to make sure that it is what AI is better at reading. So instead of saying, we're in the heart of wine country, which sounds cute and sexy for a person, we are going to be auditing it to say, we're in the heart of wine country, just 2 miles north of Newburgh, Oregon, and being very direct with words that I can pull out because a lot of people are starting to use AI as their itinerary planner. I have done it myself.
100%. I mean, we receive guests and they will tell us, hey, we found you via AI. And they plan their entire trip, hikes, hotels, restaurants, everything.
Mhm. This is a shameless plug, but Holly's going to be speaking about AI and your online visibility and some of the things that we found. So please make sure to join that after the lunch break. Jonathan, I know you're really heavy into tweaking and adjusting your rates. Tell us about your madness.
Yeah, I would be shocked if there was a single person in this conference that boosts rates like I do. And actually to the point where I think rezStream secretly is me and they have a dartboard with my face on it that they throw darts at. Anyway, the way we think about the larger strategy and how we kind of source basically from a revenue management perspective is twofold, right? Historically, we have been so heavy and still are on kind of guest loyalty, repeat guests, all those things, right? But as we think about like in the Outer Banks, North Carolina, and I think probably similar to potentially the Jersey coast of like you have so many assets that are competing so heavily. So it is really important to be super, super visible across an array of channels. But where I'm going with some of this is when we think about where who is sourcing them and where are they coming from? And for such a long time, TripAdvisor was one of those kind of channels. And so of late, we actually kind of retooled that because Google is driving more visibility than TripAdvisor. So we actually switched a lot of our emails to please review us here on Google and have started to leave TripAdvisor kind of on the back door as it pertains to that. One of the
Mhm.
things as these kind of questions that we'll kind of hit here pertain one to the other and how we think about channel and markups and revenue and all these things. It's like, one, we want all that visibility. I would love to get rid of all of them, but just in such a crowded market in the Outer Banks, it's just not viable for us. But we constantly are reviewing how other assets are that we compete with use theirs, right? Whether they're marking up, marking down. Uh, Expedia has a lot of actually really interesting pricing plans that they can work into your program. So really, in short, we use all of them. Of the OTA kind of channels, we like Airbnb. We think it suits our asset the best and typically has the most seamless processes in terms of communication to and from the guest. But obviously, from a review sourcing perspective, we are really leaning into Google right now in terms of trying to drive more reviews, get more traction there, and slowly kind of pull ourselves away from TripAdvisor.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that approach. I would definitely lead with Google first. So, oh, yeah. So, we had a question where someone was interested in hearing from your guys' perspective what's been the most beneficial advertising channel or source, whether that's search engines or a particular association or social media or ChatGPT. What has kind of been the standout for you guys recently?
I mean, Google Hotel
Hmm.
you just need to share and have your Google listing up to date and accurate. We do receive a decent amount of referrals through Google Hotel. So, I mean, that
Hmm.
would be one suggestion to really push the direct bookings.
Yes, absolutely. Does
For us,
anybody
it's
have anything else to add?
for us, it's hands down booking.com. I don't know why, but far and away our geographic, our population, our guests are coming from that is our number one OTA, even though we're using the others. So it's definitely a pain point for me at the end of the month when I'm sending booking a check.
Yeah. And Kristen, when it comes to figuring out where you're going to allocate the marketing dollars, like what is the non-negotiable?
If I had extra marketing dollars, I would put it into working on content for our website.
Mm, great.
Like social for us is a way to keep in touch with previous guests. It's not
Websites.
We haven't had a great ton of success on drawing new bookings from it just because that's not where our clientele really is. And so really being found by Google is our best thing. And
Mhm.
so putting the content back into our website to be when people are searching for Willamette Valley lodging, that we're at the top of the list.
Mm.
And then
That's great.
the Google Hotels is true. Right now, we don't have OTAs, so we're not bidding against other OTAs, which is really helpful. If we were bidding against OTAs on some of that ad stuff, it would suck. We do actually a fun hidden one is I know TripAdvisor has, Jonathan said, some issues, but the TripAdvisor cost per click Trip Connect campaign that
Mhm.
they have has turned out to be extremely inexpensive for me and has turned into mini bookings. So
Yes. It's another meta search site for those that aren't aware, but similar to Google Hotels, that just has a cost per click. It's a great shout out. Jonathan, is there anything that you wanted to add when it comes to just what's been the most effective place for you to get bookings from? Is it OTAs or is it something else?
I mean, for us, it's definitely something else. It's word of mouth, frankly. I mean,
Wow.
when we think about being 12 rooms at the coast, in kind of a unique boating, outdoor recreation community that also Alligator River's on the other side of us, which has the highest black bear population basically in the United States. So really, from a photographer perspective and outdoor enthusiast perspective, it's honestly it's word of mouth. And so we really lean into the point of, again, this group is great from the standpoint of being kind of smaller assets and actively engaging with guests in a very different way. We engage with all guests all the time. And that I know that's not for everyone, right? Not everyone likes to get in an Uber and have the Uber driver talk their ear off. I get it. You see, but word of mouth is definitely the biggest marketing for us.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's huge. And just to touch on my Expedia or booking point, like in anybody that's listening, what we do is we really balance the advertised price on all of the OTAs versus what the commission is on that OTA. So we're advertising a price on booking that is basically us absorbing that booking cost. Our price on the rezStream portal is us absorbing that booking cost of only whatever it is, $25 for the res booking. If it's an Expedia or it's one of the other outlets, we've got it adjusted as that. So people may see a different price, but that's us behind the scenes. It sounds like maybe some of what Jonathan does, like so much of the micromanaging of the different sources, just so that you're not losing 100 versus absorbing that 50 that you had to pay back to one of the OTAs.
I got a question
So
for you guys. How do you convey to people that they can get a cheaper rate by booking direct?
You can message them through booking and just say, you've stayed with us before. Why are you booking on booking?
We always, again, because we're such active touch point with all of our guests all the time, just again, how we train our staffs is they're getting coffee in the morning. We're talking to them, all these things. When they go through checkout, especially if they book through an OTA, whether it's Airbnb, Expedia, Booking.com, it doesn't really matter. We give them our card and say, if you can call us next time, we can get you a better rate. And that, so not only through typically those 2, 3, 4 days that they're seeing with us, that relationship building during that time. And then we tail it on at the very end. We're so glad you had a great time. When you come back, please just give us a call and we'll make sure you actually get the best rate. That's typically music to their ears because then they're like, wait, this locally owned, operated asset is wanting to help us out next time by saving $60, $80, right? Like depending on whether we're talking peak season or not, goes a long way. So again, it's about kind of that messaging, that relationship management and communication.
Jonathan, that's
Uh,
key. And when people are checking in, we're literally, because when they book through the OTAs, you're getting their OTA outlet email contact. You're not getting their personal email contact. So as they check in, we're always capturing personal contact information so that they're automatically in your mailings and in your system. And also that way, as soon as they check out in the automated rezStream email that you have set up, it says, make sure you're booking with us going forward. OTAs always send, whatever you want it to say. Those couple pieces are just huge and eliminating somebody that books from doing it again.
I don't know. This is a suggestion. I don't know if it will apply to the OTA reservations. I'm sure I'll find out once I do move to the dark side. But using Akia, we use Akia for online check-in, and it has helped us immensely. And we'll probably get to that at some point during this chat. But we used to collect emails as a part of that process. So when a guest was checking in online, one of the fields was supply your email address, and you can make it a required field or not. But it's a good opportunity at that point as well to capture the data, and then whether it's a marketing campaign, outbound email campaigns, et cetera, it's a good opportunity for you to collect the data. And one thing that we noticed in the change of industry is people want early check-ins. We're giving them early check-ins as long as you check in online. So we're kind of, you want something from me, I want something from you. And we're capturing their photo ID, the email addresses, and going through the 9 yards. And it's made our life so much easier. I think you can definitely get those emails. And the other thing is, for us, it's guest loyalty, and we kind of skimmed around it, but it's creating a guest experience. It's learning your guest names, whether they come from booking.com, Expedia, or a direct booking, and developing a relationship with the guests. And we go out of our way to greet people by name when they arrive. We try to guess who it is. If it's a family of 4 and we only have one family of 4 arriving, we know who they are because of their online check-in, and we greet them as the Brown family. Hey, Liz, welcome. And the husband, even the children. It goes a long way. They remember that experience, and they want to talk. They want to talk to you when they make a new booking. You're their friend at that point.
Absolutely. And for those of you that didn't participate in the Akia breakout session, I did just want to call out that, Bob, you are correct. It will support you doing kind of a conditional setup where, you actually came from Expedia. We can send out a personalized message. So Jay, I know you recently got going with Akia, so that's something we should definitely make sure is in place for you. But I love what you just said, Bob, because I feel like personalization is going to continue being, that's really what's going to set, I think, everybody apart. And that is what a customer or guest, ultimately, how they can feel really attached to you, is them getting that sense that you know me, you know who I am, maybe my birthday, the first time I stayed here. So I think that's such a good call out. I love that.
We do the same thing, trying to encourage folks to rebook off season. So maybe someone is visiting in the summertime and they just wow and brag about the wildflowers, the colors, the vibrant hues. Next step for us is to push the fall in the autumn season, because it's just as magnificent in terms of the display of color. Folks that are here in the winter months, we'll encourage them to visit in the spring and come and see the snow that you're snowshoeing on melting and the waterfalls that it's creating. And so come in the springtime. So we start planting images of how they can enjoy and appreciate the other seasons as well. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't.
Love it. I love the try. Okay. I guess one question I have down here was just, and maybe this is kind of leading it up to Bob talking about Akia a bit more, but have you changed any processes or strategies to run your property more efficiently? Is there anything in like the last year or so that has really made a difference for you guys? It could be hiring additional team members or bringing on a new tool. Does anything stand out?
I'll say something that came to mind a minute ago before Bob finished is, and just to follow up on what Bob said, is knowing your guests is everything. And I think everybody would attest to that. It's similar to what I said earlier. You knew the grandparents, you knew the parents, and now the kids are bringing their kids. And that just, it's special to them, and they know that. And they could choose 10 other places, or in our case, 200 other places in our island. It's similar to the Outer Banks, but that's the only reason they come back, right, Bob? I mean, that's
Absolutely.
because you know their name. It's like,
Yep.
to me, Liz is Liz Day, not Liz Brown, because like that's literally what I have her saved as my phone, because I've been with rezStream since like '08 or something like that. So what I was getting to is being with rezStream and the evolution of everything that they continue to work through and try to supply us with as hosts and as properties. They're not just spitting out stuff that is hot air. It's like they're genuinely hearing, absorbing feedback, and trying to help us come up with new approaches, new strategies. I want to say that that's really the number one thing I continue to implement is, all right, like maybe I was resistant and I started Akia during COVID, and like it was needed during COVID, but now it's different and we don't need it. It's an extra cost. Well, 4 years later, 5 years later, it's like, it would make life a lot easier. 55 rooms checking in on a Saturday kind of thing. Like, you don't want the line out the office 3 miles down kind of thing. So
Yeah.
kind of rolling with some of the recommendations rezStream has, even though you might be resistant, or it's new to you, or it's new tech, or it's Holly pounding down your email with, please respond to this. It's like, they're important things. And they're genuinely, Liz and her team are just super supportive and out to help. And that's genuinely been the best thing for me, is just continuing to work with these guys and be a supporter of them as much as they are of me.
I'll send you the $100 after this session.
There's $100.
I'm like,
Wow.
Christian, the CEO's right here.
Look, for the amount of time I'm in Denver, and because one of my kids still lives out there, like it just was an awful week for me to try to get there. So I apologize. I would have otherwise been there.
Oh, good.
So Liz,
Okay.
Jay mentioned people signing up with Akia during COVID. I feel like we're even more reliant on Akia now.
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking about outsourcing and things for efficiency's sake. There, you can build so many conditional statements in your Akia communication, creates tasks. Again, we're just 2 people running the business. But as people do that online check-in, we quickly learn who needs access to an EV charger and make sure to have an EV access card in their room, who are our smokers, and we place pails outdoors for them. So Akia helps us to prepare for our guests before they even arrive. So that's one of the ways in which we're able to be more efficient. And of course, definitely, as Jay mentioned, becoming more and more reliant with our partners, marketing team at rezStream. I mean, we couldn't do it without y'all.
Appreciate that, Bob. Kristen, I want your perspective just coming in as a newer customer.
Well, yeah. So for us, running more efficiently means taking our slower season and sitting down and making a marketing calendar throughout that's going to stand up to July, and building now. It's not so much more efficiently, but hopefully more successfully in our slow season. So that's been, I mean, we, like you guys, like, I don't have any problem with June through October. I'm good if the economy doesn't. But what do I do about the shoulder seasons, and what do I do about our off season? And the more staff you have, the more you have to have an active shoulder season. And so we're taking the time in this slow season to really investigate who of our industry, and I mean wine industry partners, we can start partnering with. So this is a little bit of a side track, but it's a good one. We've been working on sending our guests to particular wineries over the past 5 years. COVID made it so that people had to make appointments and they didn't show up with appointments. And so we created a package where we provide, they pay us to make appointments for them. It's kind of a easy money at this point. It started out as a bit of effort, but now we have a system in place. And so it takes us 10 minutes to make their reservations and we pocket their money and we say thank you. And they don't mind because there's 600 wineries to choose from. And how do they do that? And we've just taken off 5 hours of their research time by spending 10 minutes with it, and they give us money and they're happy. And so we've been sending guests to maybe 30 different wineries over the past 5 years, and now we're collecting our debt. And so we're reaching out to those wineries and saying, hey, we've loved being your partners. We'd like this partnership to go further. And now we want to give you a discount code that you send out to your email list of 4,000 to 8,000 people. And it's a free thing for us. If nobody takes it up, then we haven't lost anything. And if somebody takes it up, then we've gained 80%. It's not losing 20% of a discount. It's gaining 80% that we wouldn't have gotten otherwise. And just really working to develop those relationships a little bit more so that we can, in the off seasons, be like, hey, because it's a benefit for them too. More people stay with us, more people go wine tasting with them. And so building up the relationships within the community is how we are spending our off season. So it's not more efficiently, but hopefully more revenue success.
Yeah, I love that. And that takes time, right, to build the relationships, but I feel like there's so many benefits. So putting in the work is worth it. So that's exciting. And I think that's a great move. I know we're coming up on time. Do we have any questions that anybody wants to ask or comment? Oh, yeah.
Anyone they're not printing out.
Yeah. We have a question. Has anyone been able to successfully implement a no paper policy? So not having to print out registration cards or invoices or anything like that.
That was a good
I should be
question.
real close this year.
Yeah, at Stone Creek, we used to have a registration card that guests would complete on site. And with Akia, not only with Akia do we send the online check-in form for them to do remotely, that typically goes out a day before their arrival, and then they get a reminder the day of. If they don't complete it in advance, we have tablet kiosks that we hand guests when they arrive. We still engage with them, we still talk to them, but they're doing the same online check-in using one of our personal devices. So there is absolutely no paperwork whatsoever. If a guest wants an invoice, we're typically emailing it. All of the communication is electronic. So I'd say that we're great. Yeah, we're 100% paperless, except for us being print happy.
Yeah. Yes. And Jonathan, did you say you are no paper as well?
No, I said your question was a loaded question.
Oh,
It was, hey, you let everyone know that you still print paper so you can use more of my services. I'm just giving you a hard time. No, we are not there yet, but we have started implementing small strategies to reduce it pretty significantly. And I think from just an Outer Banks perspective, and I'm sure the Jersey Shore probably gets a little bit of this too, that by not skipping that check-in process in person, it actually on occasion allows us to manage who is truly coming into our asset. So just like you can get, by and large, our consumer is fantastic and they're consistent and fall into this kind of very detailed category. But the second someone comes in that doesn't fit that ticket, we run into issues on occasion. So you would be very, very surprised on how much we can avoid by having that in-person check-in, even if it's one or two a season that we just say, we're sorry, we're going to have to refund you because you are falling over intoxicated before check-in. That's just not permitted at our asset. And I know that sounds really crazy to say publicly, but you would just, in Outer Banks, people come to have a party and have a good time and do all these things. And we protect our guest experience. And so having that in-person check-in is probably never going to go away for our particular asset for that exact reason.
Liz, can I add to that? So
Yeah.
I agree 100% with what Jonathan is saying. So although I've been an advocate of checking in advance or online or using our kiosk, every single guest is still being received in person. So we're still looking at their online check-in form confirming, oh, yep, this ID matches that person and it's the correct number of people are here. And there aren't issues like whether it's intoxication or whatever, pets in the car that weren't identified. We still, what the online check-in does for us is it gives us more personal time with guests, relationship building, as opposed to let's get down to business and sign forms and fill out paperwork. We're engaging and interacting, but we're still receiving everyone personally. And that I would not recommend that going away for people if you truly value the relationship side of the business.
Yeah, absolutely. You guys, we're at time.
Yeah.
I didn't even get through all my questions. This was great. So I was going to go ahead and just thank you guys all again for participating. This was really helpful. I know everyone here got a lot of value out of it. For everyone else, we are going to be taking our lunch break. So we will be gone for 45 minutes. We'll be joining back here for Holly to give her digital marketing AI session. But thank you to Bob, Kristen, Jonathan, Jay. This was fantastic. And we hope you guys all stay tuned. Okay.
Bye-bye.
Cheers, guys.